English. And so I saw this opportunity to push myself completely out of my comfort zone because I had never been to Europe before. And I don't like being comfortable in a sense of I don't like being complacent. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Kirsten and I am a life coach and I run a freelancing writing business, and I'm also an expat living abroad. And my goal in all my businesses and everything I do and in this channel is to help you live the best life that you can, help you to be your most authentic self, and create a life that you love. So about my experiences, and I'm going to talk about why I moved to Spain, which is where I'm currently living at the time of this filming. And so this video is perfect for anyone that wants to or is thinking about moving to Spain. I'm going to share with you some of my experiences, how I got here, and hopes that it can help you make the decision to move abroad or not, or just get yourself more prepared for that transition abroad. And if you stay tuned until the end, I will give you my 3 tips for anyone who's either thinking about moving to Spain, or if you're just thinking about becoming an expat. I'm going to give you 3 things that you're going to need to know in order to make that transition easy, simple, and fun. Okay, so there's 3 things that you need to know about why I moved to Spain. Number 1, it was not planned, meaning I wasn't planning on moving here. At the time, I was living in Panama, and I kind of figured I was going to stay most of my expat life in Central or South America. And I'll link a video to how I got started living in Panama if you haven't checked that out yet. But it wasn't something that I had planned on doing. And it wasn't even on my list. Like, Spain didn't really have an attraction to me. I don't know. I had grown up around a lot of Latin culture. I grew up learning about Africa. I had so many other continents or countries that I was very curious about. Europe was not one of them, and Spain wasn't one of them either. But I knew that when I started learning my Spanish or getting serious about my Spanish when I moved abroad, I knew that no matter where my expat journey took me, I wanted to go somewhere that I could advance my Spanish skills. And so I think that if you are thinking about becoming an expat, you want to think about long term. You don't want to just think about a place that you really like. You want to think about what's going to help you to reach your goals and be the person that you want to be throughout your expat life. So that's one of the reasons why Spain English. And so I saw this opportunity to push myself completely out of my comfort zone because I had never been to Europe before. And I don't like being comfortable in a sense of I don't like being complacent. And so, like I mentioned before, I came to Spain through a teaching English program. You can literally type in Google language exchange or language assistant program in Spain, and one of the very first, or maybe even the second website will come up, and it will talk about the public program that I have used for 2 years. This is my 3rd year in Spain. I used a private program the first time, but I don't necessarily recommend that. But it did help me to get to Spain, and I am grateful for that. I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video about my program with the Auxiliar program. I'm planning on doing another video specifically about the program and things that you need to know and things that I didn't know before coming here. And so if you want a video more on that, or if you have specific questions about the AUX program, leave your comments below and then I can make a separate video about that. Nonetheless, I remember when I first got to Spain, And it was a long process because with Central and South America, you can kind of fly under the radar when it comes to visas. Like if you're not staying for a really long time, you can just go on a tourist visa and then leave and then come back. With Spain, it's not as simple. So I remember this moment, and I was in Madrid, and I was walking down the street, and you kind of sometimes you kind of have this when you travel a lot, especially if you travel for long hours, kind of have this like gaze over you, like that you're in a new city, but it still isn't like registering. And then like one moment, I was just looking around, and then like hit me, and I was like, I'm here. I am in. I'm in Spain. I am halfway across the world. I am miles and miles and miles from home because I'm from California. And I can't tell you what an amazing feeling it was. I can't really describe it, but there's just this feeling of satisfaction of like, I did it. I did it. I am here. This is amazing. And I really, really want that for anyone that's listening. So if you're listening, I want you to have that. And it could be with moving abroad. It could be with getting a new job. It could be with starting your own business. It could be meeting the love of your life. I don't know. But I encourage you to do things that give you that feeling of like, I can't believe I did it. I'm actually here. I said what I was going to do because it is amazing. And when I got here in Spain, it is important to know Spanish. I'll say that right off the bat. And it was a kind of a whirlwind coming from the West Coast of the States, and my sleep patterns were off a lot. I stayed up till like 2, 3 in the morning sometimes because I was just not tired and talking to people and things like that. But overall, I felt like when I got here, I felt like it was right. Like I felt like I was supposed to be here. I felt like this is meant to be. For anyone that's moving abroad or thinking about moving abroad, check in with yourself when you move someplace and make sure that it feels right. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. Sometimes it takes a while to feel right. When I moved to Panama, my second year, I had moved to a small town. It didn't feel right until months after I had moved there. But check in with yourself, check in with your body, and make sure that when you move to a new country, a new city, a new town, that it's the right move for you. I also want to say, if you're enjoying this information and it's helpful to you, make sure that you, one, click the like button and subscribe, and you're going to get more life lessons around living abroad, traveling, solo traveling. And if you're serious about moving abroad, becoming an expat, I do travel consultations where I will personally help you create your ideal plan to move abroad. Yes, there's a lot of information out there. Yes, there are a lot of people doing it on their own and just going, but I make sure that one, you're not skipping over certain steps, that two, that you can make a plan that is sustainable, that's going to support you in the long term. And I make the process easier and fun, because sometimes looking at visa paperwork and looking at what you need to do to go abroad is not fun. But with my process, with my consultation, I can help you to make that transition smooth. Okay, I just realized I need to. Still hot. Okay, so if you're watching this and you're like, now something's tingling inside of you saying like, oh, I think I want to move abroad, or I'm ready to move abroad, here are some things that you need to know. You need to really try to understand the culture of the place that you are going to. And that was kind of like not really culture shocks, but like biggest adjustments to me, is that the culture in Spain is very different, and same with Panama too. The second thing that you're going to want to do is give yourself a time limit and give yourself, or have a plan B. Yes. So give yourself a time limit, and I say this as an advisory. You don't have to give yourself a time limit, but it helped me to give myself a time limit. If I'm going to stay here for 6 months, I'm going to stay here for a year, because sometimes things start off great and they end up rocky. Sometimes they start rocky and they end up great, but sometimes you just literally need time to adjust. That being said, if you have that gut feeling, if you're like, you get to a place and you've been there like a week and it just does not sit well with you, doesn't fit right, that would be that is your sign. Can't jumbling up my words today. That is your sign to go to your plan B. So have a plan B. So like if you go somewhere and things did not work out, are you going to go back home? Is your plan B to go back home, or is your plan B to go to the neighboring country? So have a plan B, and it could be a different city. It can be staying with a friend, maybe. It can be going back home. Going back home is definitely a safe plan B, and there's nothing wrong with that. I know that I believe just know that it is okay if it doesn't work out the first time. You have your whole life to keep trying and trying again. It's not like a job where you have to commit to something. If you only want to commit for 2 months, 3 months, a year, that is okay. The third thing you want to do is figure out what you want see, can't talk today. What you want your life to be like when you move abroad. And I say this because when I first moved abroad, I definitely took that constantly working, constantly hustling, constantly go, 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 doing a million things type of mentality that I had when I was living in the States, and I took it with me. And I realized there was a point where I was like up late at night trying to create something or do something, and I was like, this is not the life that I wanted. And I remember when I started to realize that, there was this one time after I did a yoga class, I taught a yoga class in the park. And normally my California Kirsten, whenever I finished one thing, I was on to the next thing. I was like, okay, I taught this class here. Now I got to go across town to teach another class. Now I got to go back here. Now I have a meeting here. I was so go, go, go. And there was this beautiful moment after I taught the yoga class where one of my students invited me. He had an extra bike and he's like, do you want to go for a bike ride? So we went on a bike ride, and then we were going through the streets, and we had stopped to get this special cane sugar drink that they sell in Panama, and it was just nice to not have to rush. It was nice to not have to be there and just be fully present. And so when I started really thinking about how I wanted my expat life to be different than my life in the States, that's when I was able to really live my best expat life, because I made that conscious decision. You are going to bring your baggage of the US capitalistic mentality with you. That's going to happen. But when you start to have that awareness, you can start actively making decisions to create the life that you love. So I hope you liked that video. I hope you enjoyed it and got to learn a little bit about me, a little bit about why I'm here, living the life that I do. And I hope that you feel a little bit inspired to take that next step, whether it's towards being an expat, whether it's towards traveling. I hope that you feel inspired and encouraged to take that next step. Leave a comment below and tell me what country you would love to live in, whether it's something that you're planning in the future, 5 years from now, or even just something you're dreaming about. Comment below and start that manifestation now and tell me where you would like to live. Thanks for watching. Until next time, besos.